Hey folks, it's Maxwell here and welcome to a new TEWIX video. We are here with For the Sickos, and now with Wrestle Dream in the books, we're on the 5-week build to full gear. I'm going to be booking a wee bit like Tony, so there'll be stuff that maybe should relate to storylines, but probably doesn't, so there might be a little bit of the whole where's the story carry on, but I think at the early part of the save it's really finding out what works, not just in terms of what wrestlers work with each other, but in terms of which angles help gain popularity and how we're kind of benefiting with certain stories. Because how do we look there? I think Mox has gained like 1 over, Bryan has pretty much stayed the same, Brody made some big gains, but I feel like with popularity it's something we'll more reflect on, not really with the first pay-per-view, but pay-per-views down the line when you can see it and compare it on a month-to-month basis. So we'll crack on, hope you enjoy it. As I say, we'll do Dynamite, recap Rampage, and we'll have Collision as well. Let's do it. This is Wednesday the 16th of October in game, and this is Dynamite. And we start the show in the Powell Hall. We'll get our attendance at Rampage. But basically, Tony Schiavone here is announcing to the crowd and to the viewers at home, we are going to see a fatal 4-way match in our main event to determine a #1 contender for Bryan Danielson. We're going to see Hangman Adam Page take on Claudio Castagnoli, take on Darby Allin, take on Ricochet. So 52, Bryan's final run storyline advances and gains a little bit of heat. I don't know if the match itself will take place as in the title match, maybe just on an episode of Dynamite, or if I'm going to make it down the line at the Full Gear pay-per-view. But I was just thinking there, looking at the date, I never done a title Tuesday, but it's cool. It's fine. I'm intrigued to how they book that, going title Tuesday straight into a pay-per-view. But anyway, first match was some tag team action, a pretty strong match. It shows our tag wrestling's pretty good. We'd about here they had some good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd as the Lucha Brothers defeated the Kingdom in 8:56 when Rey Fenix pinned Mike Bennett with an assisted Fear Factor. So in terms of in-ring work, Phoenix ahead of everyone else, but I expect that, as I say, is that damn good. Both teams get the boost from having excellent chemistry, but you can see I'm still trying to get the crowd into stuff. They're maybe not reacting to people having the most overness, but they do have the wrestling ability, which does help the segments. However, after this, the Kingdom were not particularly happy with the loss, so alongside Roddy Strong, who jumps in, Taven and Bennett decide to beat down the Lucha Bros, but we get the returning from injury El Hijo del Vikingo, and Vikingo evens up the odds for a 3v3 brawl before chasing Taven, Bennett and Strong to the back. So good to get him back, really intrigued to see how we can push him going forward, because it's weird, like there's so many people missing and it's going to be really interesting to balance everything when everybody's back. But a 42 segment here for Vikingo's return. Next up with a poor matchup with Hook taking on Shane Taylor, and he wins in 7:09 with the Red Rum submission victory. A 47 overall here. Hook's going to be an interesting one because there's a lot of pressure to put him in a lot of matches, if anything just to help him develop. So we'll keep his momentum high, and obviously we don't have to worry about the FTW Championship. I then had a Wild Brawl match because I was struggling to see what I could make as my Wild Brawl. And I had a decent reaction from the crowd at Terrible Wrestling as Yuta defeated Chilifo in 8:47 with the Yuta lock, so a submission victory here. Sadly, both guys were off their game, so it did bring a poor performance with only a 41 and a 37, giving us a 41 segment overall. They're probably helped by Taz and Excalibur boosting the match, but it shows the likes of, especially Yuta as a work in progress. Lethal, I was kind of hoping would be a veteran that maybe could have helped us, but it's good to see we're getting a lot more inconsistency, because you're not going to get the perfect wrestling match every time. And after it, we just see Yuta freaking out a little bit. He's still obviously torn between having to help the Blackpool Combat Club defend the Trios Championships, and obviously for what they've done to Bryan Danielson. It's still haunting him, and that's a 43 rated segment. We had a little backstage video, it's just looking over the Elite, how it was not a very good night for them at Wrestle Dream. And it's just basically Okada saying, "You're still champion, you'll never beat me, bitch," etc. And then obviously we just see the Young Bucks moping around because they've lost their championships. And Jack Perry kind of wondering, well, what next for me? And that's a 43 rated segment. Speaking of the Young Bucks though, it was the new tag champs defending the belts, and it was the Kings of the Black Thrones defending it in an extremely short match as they defeat the Outrunners in 4:39 when Malachi Black pinned Turbo Floyd with Dante's Inferno. I made it storytelling because it was a short one, but it was just to really show their domination. They make their first defence of the belts, 51, 41 and a 43 for the segment. Quite a lot of positives there, but obviously it's designed to make them look like absolute monsters effectively here in their first title defence. I then had a little promo here. MVP is on the phone, but to who? I think the good thing is, with the way the angles are set up, it's quite easy to type stuff out, so if I don't need anything to even add to the segment, we'll actually describe what I'm thinking was, because obviously this would just be character development. So he's basically trying to maybe negotiate with someone, bring someone in, but obviously when he's dealing with Ricochet, is he potentially getting someone up to partner him, to help him, or could it be something else? Could it be Bobby Lashley? Could it be someone else? Remains to be seen, but that's a 61. Highest promo of the night. Next up, we had a decent matchup here as Mone Corporation, Camille and Mercedes Mone defeated Willow Nightingale and Yuka Sakazaki in 10:55 when Mercedes submitted Yuka with a bank statement. Camille's the weak link here, we're going to have to build her up, but obviously she can get protected by Mercedes. Hopefully we can just get Mercedes with a lot of momentum and really get her striving to be like a main caliber person here. But overall, a 62 segment is pretty damn good. But Mercedes kinda needs an opponent for the TBS Championship. So after it, she's kinda bragging. She's saying, I'm so damn good, I beat Azumi at Wrestle Dream. We've just won there. No, there's no one that can stand up to me. There's no one that's had the dominant reign like me. And obviously I'll get my back up in Camille with the intimidation. However, you want a champion, and I only want to bring her up on appearances like this, because I don't want to ruin her ROH title reign until the game does. I'd rather actually have her lose on merit rather than just stripping it by bringing her up. But ROH champion of Fina. Fina basically says, you know, being the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion of all time, if there's someone that can take it to you and beat you, it's certainly me. And of course I've got Billy Starks alongside me. She may not have the intimidation of Camille, but she'll give it her all. And if you want a fight, we'll give you a fight. So 45. Obviously Athena and Billy wouldn't have the most overness here, but I'm hoping Mercedes via Athena at one point is going to be spectacular. Short promo from Daniel Garcia says it's great to have his future sorted. Well, he's not really, still got like 2 months his contract in this game, but that's the story we're running. And he's hoping to be a fighting champion for the TNT Championship, constantly have good matches, constantly elevated title, but not only that, but improve himself. So he's open challenge to see who steps up, and that was a 50 rated segment. And the person that stood up was Kyle Fletcher. And we'd about had some good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd as Daniel Garcia defeats Kyle Fletcher in 11:41 by pinfall. So we had this to be a steal the show matchup. I felt it would be a good one. And that's reflected with a 65 wrestling rating and a 68 segment. The crowd was on a 44, but I feel like it's good opening defence. Fletcher, he can take defeats, can have really good matches, because I say he's going to be a long-term project as well. And yeah, I think that's going to make our TNT title, just as I say, defending, having good matches on a regular basis, which can only benefit Garcia. Getting ready for a main event. This one I was hoping to do a bit better, but really it was just a hype package and video just reminding us of what went down when Bryan Danielson fought John Moxley at Wrestle Dream. Seeing obviously Bryan retain the belt, but that only gained a 58. So we might be struggling on the promo side of things. This main event might need to have a bit of carrying. And it does. We'll take that. Not perfect, but decent enough. We had a bout here that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Claudio Castagnoli defeats Darby Allin, Ricochet and Hangman in 18:05 when Claudio pinned Darby with a neutralizer following interference from Pac. So a 70 overall. It was 67-53 for the crowd. Claudio only got 58 and was really off his game, so someone will need to work with, because Claudio, he's class. It's good to see that Darby can work for these injuries. Again, he grits his teeth. Oh, we didn't get the penalty for... I thought we were going to get a penalty for the lack of the associated storyline, but I was hoping the interference with Pac would obviously mix up because he's with Claudio. But obviously, We know that leads to Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli for the World Championship at one point. Well, that's going to be a few weeks. Maybe a Halloween special or Full Gear. I'll see how it goes week by week basis, because obviously we'll try and get a lot of people over. But yeah, overall, finished the show at 65. So we gained popularity in 3 regions. I wouldn't say it was like amazing. I felt like we maybe struggled in the promo department here. As I say, our best promo would have been probably MVP at a 61. So you take that into account. The fans were disappointed that storylines feature. Well, I don't want to have them keep having matches against each other. I feel like you need to build it up with segments, so that probably hampered our rating as well. But hey, that's on me. I've got 5 storylines running, and a few of them are just kind of seeing where we take them from Wrestle Dream on our next segment. So overall, that's pretty decent. I'm just going to quickly get into Rampage just for the locker room incidents. Chris Jericho and Mike Posey spent a lot of time together. Many have noticed how Mike Posey is starting to act different. So Jericho's professional and Posey doesn't have a defined personality. He might become professional. And apart from that, that's still a lot. So, yeah. We'll now book Collision, and then after it, we'll come back and look at what we booked for this Rampage. So here we are with Collision. We have a nice wee show today, which hopefully starts getting some programs kicking off on the road to Full Gear. I'm more and more inclined to think that will be Claudio and Bryan at the pay-per-view. And I've also decided to ditch the idea of the Full Gear World Title Eliminator Tournament, because you've got the Continental Classic just after that. So, really, do you need both? I don't think so. Before we jump into Collision though, we'll quickly just jump to what happened at Rampage. You can actually see quite a few people with morale issues. Ironically, our morale officer, Tony Schiavone, was quite unhappy. Well, he wasn't unhappy, but he was kind of like always getting into arguments with people. So I took him away and it recommended Prince Nana as one of them, and I thought he can just give them coffee and they'll be quite happy with that. So yeah, Prince Nana, morale officer. You can see obviously the locker room leaders. Scott Garland, of course, the former Scotty 2 Hotty Impact, both has to be it. So we gave them that. And Michael Elgin wanted to show up for Collision, and he was swiftly told where to go. It's a lot of troublemakers. We've had him, we've had Ronda, and Low Key so far, and yeah, we've told every one of them, nope, no thank you. So anyway, we'll jump into the show. Let's hope you enjoy this week's edition of Collision. So we're here in the Woodland Gym. We've got 2,179 in attendance. I'm starting off with some tag team action, which seems to be getting some of our better segments, so maybe we should just become a tag company. But we start off with a decent matchup. The Grizzled Young Veterans, James Drake and Zach Gibson, defeat the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara in 11:43 when Zach Gibson pinned Dustin Rhodes while using the ropes for leverage. So a win over the ROH Tag Team Champions. Can see there in terms of in-ring stuff, Zach Gibson the highest with 65. Sammy was pretty decent. But yeah, I've got to make the Grizzled Young Veterans look strong, so they pick up the win. They have some words for us after the match, and they call out FTR. They just say they want to get their hands on them, they want a proper fight, and they tell them to grit their teeth and fight. Hence that's the storyline that's began with this segment, and it was a 40 rated segment. Then moved on to a matchup between Hologram and the Beast Mortos. Obviously a few weeks ago the Beast Mortos, Dralistico and Rush attacked Hologram. So we've had the first attempt at Hologram getting some retribution here in a decent wrestling match, but didn't have a lot of heat as he defeats the Beast Mortos in 8:52 with a 450 splash. Of course it's getting all these acts over in the States. They're obviously over in Mexico but not so much in the States, so that's how we only get a 44 segment. Good wrestling. Crowd weren't too much in it, so that gave it a bit of a penalty. Both of them have good chemistry together. That lifted the match in the performances, 54 and 60. Pretty decent considering where we're at. We then had another promo from MVP. It was more so character development. We basically again had him on the phone talking away, just saying we'll hopefully get you here in a week or two and make an impact here in AEW. So it's going to be a wrestler. It might be a new signing, it might not, but they're going to have an impact in here regardless. So that's a a 62. I don't want to give too much away on it, if I'm being honest. FTR then had their match, decent. They took on Vincent and Dutch of the Righteous, and they won in 10:34 with Cash Wheeler pinning Vincent after the big rig. I made this storytelling, I had to put it as a storytelling match, I don't think anything else fit the bill. You can see here in terms of the ring performance, FTR was a bit better. Cash Wheeler gave us a creative finish, so we decided to use that, and it was a success. You obviously get the tag team specialist bonus, you get excellent chemistry from FTR, and overall that gave us a 62. So pretty strong stuff for Cash and Dax. Of course, when she's good to take on Mercedes, we need to get her in a bit of momentum on the main roster. So here Athena took on Hikaru Shida, and in a decent match she wins in 11:46 with the old face. 64 for the wrestling, 66 for the segment. Crowd were okay, 42, but just making her look like as much of a threat as possible before she faces Mercedes down the line. They will have an encounter before that match, but we'll explain that over the next couple of weeks. And a bit of a promo, just basically saying your time as TBS champion is going to be limited. I'm going to be ROH World Champion and TBS champion at the same time, and you can have your New Japan Strong Women's Championship. So that was a 52 promo from Athena. And then after that we cut backstage where FTR and the Grizzled Young Veterans have bumped into each other, and it just becomes a full-on brawl for 4 minutes before road agents, security, etc. finally separate them. So 44 for the segment, grit your teeth storyline advances, and gain some heat. We had a little segment backstage where we had basically Stokely Hathaway talking about all the accolades that Chris Statlander has, former TBS champion, just how she should be a future Women's World Champion here, and that was a 44 rated segment. She's going to be in action next as she took on Queen Amanita, sorry. I went with a wild brawl because I feel like Statlander would be very good in a brawl, but poor wild brawl. Statlander defeats Queen Amanita, or Queen Amanata, I'll get it right at one point, in 8:45 with a Big Bang Theory. So good to finally use Chris. Decent victory here with a 51. I feel we need a bit more depth in the women's division, because like there's a lot of women I want to keep strong, but I have to keep using people to put people over, and it's going to give them weak momentum. So we'll see how we go with it, but Stat picks up the win in a 51. Next up, as he continues to try and get his career on the right track, Ricochet takes on Kyle Fletcher in this one. Decent matchup. Ricochet wins in 12:34 with a 6:30 splash. Crowd were okay, 46, but you can see the rest of them was good at a 62. And the segment itself was a 67. They're not over enough for it to be a storyline affected match, although Ricochet is struggling from a bit of fatigue. So that's something we'll need to keep an eye on. It's not as if he's wrestling all the time. He wrestled Wednesday and Saturday. Surely not too bad. Then another segment with the Don Callis family. He's there with Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. And he just says, right, you've tried to put yourself in some good spots, but you've failed. What was the plan? What we're going to do here? Takeshita failed to beat Okada. And Kyle says he's got a plan. He knows that he had to go solo. He had to develop himself, but it feels like he knows his next step. Again, that'll probably be a bit obvious to where it's going, but that's a 47. So we could see the Don Callis family change very soon. Hopefully Takeshita can pick up English pretty quickly. I know it's not exactly the easiest transition in real life, Japanese to English, but just so we can get no penalties in these segments. And our main event, which I was hoping would maybe do a bit better, we need to give Claudio some momentum. We need to try to get him picking up some excellent in-ring performances. So this one was decent. He defeats Darby Allin in 12:24 with the neutralizer, and this was in trying to get out to steal the show. 66 for Darby, 62 for Claudio. The final run storyline advances and lost a bit of heat. Darby gritted his teeth, so he's working injured, working hot, but he's not affecting the matches, which is good. And 64 for the wrestling, 52 for the crowd, and a 66 segment overall. After the match though, Moxley comes out. Him and Claudio decide to do a beatdown for Darby Allin before after filming his TV show Twisted Metal, I think it is. But anyway, he's back anyway. Samoa Joe and he makes the save for Darby Allin, chasing off Claudio and John Moxley. So 65 here, and the Bryan's final run storyline advances, because obviously there's layers to that, without giving too much away. So we'll again pop in 4 regions. We probably needed a stronger main event, which I was a bit disappointed when we were hitting anything with the 70s here. I basically feel like if I don't use Ospreay and don't use Bryan, that we kind of struggle a little bit, or even Mox to a higher capacity and matches. But in truth, I want to take my time with it and build up a good strong mid-card and people that can come up with them, because you can't rely on, well, Mox, Claudio, I think, well, Mox is under 40, but Claudio's 40s, Joe's 40s, Bryan's 40s. And obviously we'll get a lot more depth when we get like Adam Cole, Swerve, and MJF back as well. So we'll take a look at the financial report. Decent profit, so we'll always take that. Popularity recap. Small gains in Puerto Rico and a few in Oceania. Nothing for the media scrum. And we'll take a wee quick gander to the main screen to see if anything has taken place. But that's the thing, like, it's just the first months will always be difficult. You know, if you find out what works, you'll try to get people over. We're still really in the early parts of storylines, and obviously you get your bigger payoffs at pay-per-views as well. So it'll take time. We'll see who works well with who, and we'll go for there. I might need to start getting more TV deals, I think, actually. Look at WWE, they're way over with that. WWE signed a deal with the WWE Network. Collision. Feedback's great, so they're happy with it. And it's just a lot of stuff here for various companies around the world. The one I want to check was ROH. What are you booking on ROH for as AI? Mercedes versus Layla Hirsch, so they couldn't even have Athena because we had her. Scorpio Sky and Blake Christian versus the Premier Athletes. A lot of them would be on Collision, not gonna lie. But that's good, they're getting experience, even the likes of the people I've put down, like Anthony Go-Go. I think that's the only one, but still, it's getting them up. As I say, we'll probably bring Taya to the main roster, but it's not a horrible show in terms of, like, it's pretty similar to what we get for the mid-card AEW, so that's pretty pleasing in that regard. Collision 1.04, just under 1 million viewers. Ricochet needs a break, that's fine. Jessica Havoc extends a deal with AAA, and just Rampage, not a lot of people watching that or caring about it. So storyline wise, we need 2 to be hot or above. We've obviously got Elite Takeover, which was mostly the Young Bucks and etc. But then obviously you get Kenny Omega in there. And you've got the Bucks having their issue with the House of Black. We've taken out FTR, etc. because they're in Grit Your Teeth, which is cool, but that'll take a bit of time. Extremely hot is Bryan's final run. So Bryan is fairly good. Christian's still looking about. Fairly good for Claudio. Fairly poor Darby. Fairly poor Mox. Fairly good Utah. So some of them are doing okay. Ricochet fairly poor. Ospreay fairly good. That's hot. Very cold for the LFI reunion. And the next contender between Mariah and Willow, which obviously we've had that title match, so we'll probably have like a wee blow off between them and then we'll pick Mariah's next contender. So that's the state of the storylines. Everything else is just kind of written down and in my head. So that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Wee thumbs up would be deeply appreciated. Let us know how your own sales are getting on. And as always, check out the Fancy Bookers subreddit, Grey Dog Software forums, BeTheBooker.net and TWDB.com for all your TEW resources. So take it easy. See you soon. Bye bye.